Hello! It is currently monsoon season here in Phoenix, Arizona. So last weekend we got a pretty good monsoon rain and winds. So I did want to show you how some of my roses, particularly my tree roses and some of the rose vines that I have on trellises, held up in the monsoon weather. So I just got my tree roses. I've had them, they made it through the yard last summer, and now this is their second summer. So I have had my tree roses for a little bit, and when I did buy them, that was my number one concern, was how they would do in the monsoon winds here. Unfortunately, last summer we didn't really get any, I didn't personally really get any monsoon weather, but this year I got quite a bit of monsoon weather. My neighborhood was hit pretty hard last weekend. For instance, my neighbor's tree, it's a pretty tall established tree, like half of it fell on his house. So we did get some good winds that came through, as well as a lot of really heavy rain. So I think it's a really good opportunity to show you how the tree roses and the trellises fared. So this little storm came through last weekend, and I've left my yard exactly as it left my yard, so I haven't touched it. So it's really does not look good right now, but I did want to show kind of how everything looked after the storm and how it held up. So here is the first tree rose that I wanted to show you. This one's Twilight Zone. This one did very well. You can see you can't really even tell that the monsoon came through. There's no real bending or anything. This one is trimmed really nice. It's really balanced, so it stayed upright very well. So I got this tree rose from Berrige Nursery, which is a local nursery here in Phoenix, and it came with this little stake here. You can see it's not like a huge stake that came with it, but I went ahead and kept it with this tree, and this was basically enough to hold this up during the monsoon storm. This shoot here is not good. I need to trim this off. I didn't really notice this guy until I came out to check on him after the storm, but this is growing out of the root, and this is not desirable growth, so I do need to cut this. But overall, again, you can see this did the job. So this one is ketchup and mustard, and I tried to balance it out when I trimmed it. I think I did do a good job when I trimmed it, but over the spring and into the summer, it just put on a lot more growth on one side. So it did make it more top heavy on one side. So once it cools down and it's the season for, pruning and trimming, that's something I'll have to keep in mind when I shape this rose, is that I really need to get it balanced out so that it stays upright better. However, I am pretty happy with it. It didn't, fall over or anything during the monsoon season. So this tree rose here is one that I planted on camera. It is the David Austin tree rose. This one came with a giant stake. You can see how much bigger this stake is than the other one. So this one really stayed upright in the wind. This one, because I planted it, I just planted it, and I planted it later in the season. This really doesn't have as much growth as the other ones to, kind of weigh it down or flail around in the wind. But, first monsoon season, and it did just fine. I would say if you ordered your tree rose from David Austin, they will send you a very adequate stake that will come with it. So overall, happy with this one. Okay, so these trellises back here, there's two. There's this one up against the wall. I got this one off of Amazon. It's like a black, just a regular black trellis. I've had it, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. This has never had any, I've never had any issue with this trellis, but it is also installed right next to this wall, and the wall is basically supporting it. But I've never had any worries that this was going to blow over in the wind. Now the one next to it, it's a little arch. I also got this one off of Amazon, and I can put the link in case you want to look at it in the description. But this one I was somewhat worried about blowing over in the winds, but again, I've never had any issue with it. I think I've had this about the same amount of time, 3 or 4 years. And this one does have, you know, roses growing up on the side of it, and it kind of sticks out here and could very easily get blown over, but so far it has not given me any worry or issue in any of our little windstorms. Okay, now these ones over here, I have always struggled with this. This is my Landy Banks rose. This is not a traditional rose vine. It's kind of like a subset of a rose. It's very pretty, but this one grows extremely aggressively, you can see. And you know, even though I'm trimming it all the time and trying to tidy it up, it is extremely heavy. So when I originally got this little rose vine, I trained it up just on like a little wood or fake wood trellis that I got from Lowe's. You can see here's some of it. So this lasted okay for, you know, maybe a couple of years, until the vine got big enough to kind of take over the wall. And I believe also the heat, just being in Arizona with the heat, the wood probably didn't hold up so well. So one monsoon season, the weight of this one just is always blowing this over, and it snapped the trellises that it's on. So what I've been doing is just kind of like putting it up and over the wall, and that it clearly does not work for me right now, because every time the wind blows, the vines blow over as well. So this one over here, same thing. This just blows right over all the time, and right now it's currently smushing 2 of my roses. I think this one's a tricky vine to have and keep, especially for me. I'm a little short and I can't. What ends up happening is this top gets really mangled and tangled, and there's just a ton of growth that occurs up here at the top portion, and it becomes really top heavy, and then it's always blowing over in the wind. So do keep that in mind if you want this. I think that what I think would be the most hopeful would just to be to secure it straight to the wall, get an anchor or something, and drill it into that wall and keep it up that way. I don't think that this one would do well just on a regular trellis. So this is like the 3rd time this year I'll get to put these back up, and they are heavy. They're deceivingly very heavy. So that's how the roses did in the monsoon wind. I hope that helped you if you were trying to pick out a tree rose, or if you were uncertain about how a tree rose would do here with the winds, as well as some of the trellises. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I can respond back.